Good morning, SKN. I'm Jamie Morris.
And I'm Kortensia.
We begin today with a brief look at the weather. It will be partly sunny with a 40% or moderate chance of showers. The high will be 86, the low 72 degrees Fahrenheit as well. Awesome. There's some rain I can see on the monitor that we should expect around 9 a.m. So, yeah, great start. I love it.
Indeed, indeed. And it's hump day.
Do we have a camel anywhere?
No camel.
Is there anybody with like a cutout of a camel or anything? Because this is my
No.
signature reminder that it's hump day.
No camel. None whatsoever.
All right, so we're moving on to the latest in local news. Locals are being encouraged to join the nursing profession. This from SKN Vibes. The Federation is currently faced with a shortage of nurses. The Ministry of Health is considering ways to attract more persons to the field of nursing. According to the Health Minister, the Honorable Kilo Byron Nisbet, that can only be done by providing them with an encouraging environment. Getting more persons involved in that profession has been a sore point for successive governments, and the Minister has the topic as a priority under her tenure at the helm of the health sector. The Minister said, quote, "I've asked our health promotion unit to see how best we can do some kind of campaign to encourage people to go into nursing," end quote. Minister Akila Byron Nisbet noted that the government would fill the gap in the short term by sourcing medical practitioners as far away as the Philippines. So this is a very interesting story. I know that we had male nurses here before, and I know that to some extent they might have faced some scrutiny. But hey, you know what? It's a lucrative field, and we need nurses, men, women, anyone get on board.
Yeah. So we're going to source them from as far as the Philippines.
Yeah, really.
Wow. We continue now with our second story. Christian Vannery stars in cross-channel swim. This from the Nevis pages. The annual cross-channel swim between St. Kitts and Nevis, which had taken a 2-year hiatus due to the COVID-19 crisis, took place on Sunday, the 27th March. A total of 139 individuals participated in the grueling swim from Owali Beach in Nevis to Cockleshell in St. Kitts. Ages ranged from the youngest being 10 years old to the oldest, who is 76 years old. Christian Vanderay of Michigan in the USA stormed his way to the finish line in 58 minutes and 40 seconds, just a little off the long-established record of 56 minutes. There was a couple of outstanding features in the race from a Nevis standpoint. Kudos must be given to the chief coordinator of the event, Winston Crook, and his team for, as usual, doing a marvelous job. Robert Leedy created history by becoming the first Special Olympian to attempt the cross-channel swim and completed it in grand style. There was also much joy for swim coach James Weeks, who trained 7 youngsters ranging from 10 years old to early teens, and all of them covered the full distance, with some placing well in their various age categories. The Nevis contingent, Justin Williams, was first in the under-19 males category, and Skylar Connor was first in the under-19 female category.
Oh, that's so very exciting, especially to see young people doing so well and completing the swim.
Yeah, and not only that, a Special Olympian and someone of 76 years.
That's great.
Wow.
That's great.
Good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So motivational.
Yeah.
All right, so we're moving on to our third and final story on the local scene. Minister Grant updates his constituents on community development projects. This from Win Media. Representative for constituency number 4, the Honorable Lindsay Grant, said that Phase 2 of the Old Road fisheries would soon commence. Grant made remarks during a town hall meeting in constituency number 4 on March 28th at 7 p.m. He said, quote, "I have done Phase 1 of the fishing complex in Old Road. Phase 2 of Old Road is coming," end quote. The breakwater pier at Old Road Bay in Old Road is expected to feature a marina for the fisher folk of Old Road. Grant said, quote, "Phase 2 would involve basically a marina-type development in Old Road, and we intend to put down the necessary structures so that the fisher folks in Old Road would be able to basically gas up their boat, etc., to move from there to do their fishing. As you would recognize, Old Road is a premier fishing community, and we want to get that organized," end quote. The minister offered his apologies as it relates to addressing a concern of the fisher folk of Old Road. He said, quote, "There is an issue there with regard to ice at the fisheries. The lack of ice has been an issue that has plagued the community for, I believe, almost 2 years now," end quote. Well, everyone's getting representation, correct? Fisher folk, And I love fish. How about you?
We all are getting representation, aren't we?
So you don't love fish. Okay. I take the hint, guys. We'll take a break and we'll be back in a moment. Stay tuned.
When growing your savings, where you save matters more than you think. Dare to compare and see for yourself why you should start saving and investing at First Federal Credit Union. You don't have to settle for cents. Let your money make sense. Reap a higher return by stashing your cash in a high-yield savings account or term deposit and earn up to 4% interest on your money. At First Federal, we say yes.
I eat some veggies for dinner. Let me just check the amount of sodium in this can. Oh no, this is too much. Let me try our next option. They did say it's healthy to consume less salt. This is much better. I am salt smart.
Welcome back to Good Morning SKN. We now move on to the latest in regional news. This from the Caribbean Media Corporation. The Trinidad and Tobago government Monday announced that all schools on the island will reopen on April 19th after being closed for nearly 2 years due to the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Education Minister Dr. Nyan Gatsby-Dolly told the news conference all schools, including all universities, will reopen on that date, the beginning of the third term of the academic year 2021-2022, and that the government had taken the decision to reopen schools after a careful and measured approach. She said, "We believe that there are only 6 countries which have kept schools fully closed. Trinidad and Tobago has used a careful and measured approach to physical school reopening, and based on the advice of the officials of the Ministry of Health, the government of Trinidad and Tobago has taken the decision to fully reopen all schools from April 19th. Gatsby-Dolly also announced that the authorities would be moving to deal with the violence in schools and that the Ministry of Education is engaged with other ministries on the issues. She said a revised draft policy on school violence is now being discussed by various stakeholders.
Back to school.
I'm sure they're happy.
Well, depends on who is happy about that. But
I'm sure they're happy after being at home for 2 years.
it depends. Face-to-face
Seeing
learning.
your friends, even if well, I can't say that part. So.
Face-to-face learning has its advantages. So yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on that. We'll watch the trend as it progresses. I think that's going to be a wave that hits other Caribbean countries as well. Yeah. So that being said, we're moving on to the latest in international news. Abramovich suffered symptoms of suspected poisoning. This from Al Jazeera. Sanctioned Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich and Ukrainian peace negotiators suffered symptoms of suspected poisoning, earlier this month after a meeting in Kiev, the Wall Street Journal has reported. Abramovich, who accepted a Ukrainian request to help negotiate an end to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and at least 2 senior members of the Ukrainian team were affected, Monday's report said, citing people familiar with the matter. Their symptoms included red eyes, constant and painful tearing, and peeling skin on their faces and hands, it added. Abramovich and the Ukrainian negotiators, including Crimean Tatar lawmaker Rustem Umerov, have since improved and their lives are not in danger, the U.S. outlet reported. The Wall Street Journal said that sources blamed the suspected attack on, quote, hardliners in Moscow, who, they said, wanted to sabotage talks to end the war, end quote. A person familiar with the matter confirmed the incident to the Reuters news agency, said Abramovich had not allowed it to stop him working. Experts who looked into the incident said it was difficult to determine whether the symptoms were caused by a, quote, chemical or biological agent or by some sort of electromagnetic radiation attack, end quote, as the sources were quoted saying. Wow. This is very interesting.
Disturbing and sad at the same time.
Absolutely correct. Well, on that note, we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to get to something that's a little lighter and more interesting when we come back on the other side of the break. So stay with us, guys.
These teen boys nowadays get me so upset. I see these teen girls with their big bellies and you want to tell me y'all couldn't protect her and yourself? Come on. Now don't tell me no stupidness about you feel embarrassed about getting a pack of condoms or asking somebody for one. That ain't nothing to be ashamed about. You should be proud that you are making a wise decision, but you still have to abstain from having sex with someone under the age of consent. If your boys are pressuring you to have sex and you don't want to, then don't. You are in charge of your life, not them. I heard another one saying it's sweeter without a condom. But my granny always told me, no glove, no love. So let me tell you something. It's sweeter to have money in your pockets and not have to support a child at that young age. Before I say anything else, the best way to prevent teenage pregnancy is to abstain. In other words, no do it. Let me talk to the big men troubling underage girls.
Why you sleeping with your daughter? You not live clean. Your girl at 16 and your daughter at 13. So girl a look me, but me know in that. Big man no deal with back pan back.
You understand where I'm coming from, right?
This message was brought to you by Project Viola through the Department of Gender Affairs with support from the Basic Needs Trust Fund and the Caribbean Development Bank.
I wear a mask because I want to protect my child, but also I want to protect his classmates and his teachers.
I wear a mask because I care about the frontline workers who will have to work even harder if those around me get sick.
I wear a mask to protect my family. I wear a mask to protect you. I wear a mask because it is the right thing to do.
I wear a mask because I don't want to put any vulnerable individuals at risk, like my elderly loved ones.
I wear a mask because
we are all in this together.
Consuming excess salt can lead to heart attack, high blood pressure, and even stroke, and other health-related conditions such as kidney disease.
No cash, no card, no problem. Dad, embrace the freedom.
Welcome back to Good Morning SKN.
We'll just
World Bipolar Day is observed on March 30th every year on the birthday of Dutch painter Vincent van Gogh, one of the most influential artists in the history of Western art, who was posthumously diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder dramatically affects an individual's mood and may result in episodes of depression, which may be then followed by periods of joyfulness. The vision of World Bipolar Day is to bring world awareness to bipolar disorders and to eliminate social stigma. Today, we will be sharing some information that you may not have known about this disorder. So first, it affects every aspect of life. Bipolar disorder is crippling and it impedes success in every domain of life, be it work, relationships, and even day-to-day tasks like showering or sleeping, and others.
So you don't feel like getting up out of bed, you don't feel like taking care of yourself. You spend most of the day in bed.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's actually, it's like characterized by highs and lows, it seems, because depression followed by, bouts of joyfulness, and it's quite interesting and sad at the same time.
Yeah. So I know a few people that actually have this disorder, and it's sad.
So it's personal to you.
Yeah.
So you can relate to the next one.
I definitely can. Bipolar disorder comes with other ailments. Bipolar disorder crosses the boundaries of just causing mental problems. It affects a person's physical as well. It affects a person's physical as well in the forms of spasms, migraines, and metabolic disorders. Yeah.
So it actually has physical effects. It's not just the emotional that we're talking about.
So you don't feel like exercising, so you're just at a weight because you just eat. Because sometimes you just eat. Because you think you're hungry, but you're not hungry, but you're eating to comfort yourself. So there's a lot of things that goes into it, I must say.
Well, a third, and those are two things so far that I did not know about bipolar disorder. We're getting to the third one, which is that it is different for everyone. So bipolar disorder is like fingerprints and snowflakes. No two people have the exact same symptoms, and each diagnosis can vary greatly. However, there are two main types of bipolar disorder. Bipolar 1, which is characterized by one or more manic episodes that last at least a week and require hospitalization, and bipolar 2, which is characterized by more depressive episodes. I wouldn't like to choose. I'm going to tell you that, because you've got hospitalization for 1 week and then you've got manic depressive episodes. Yeah.
But before it was called bipolar, it was called manic depression, but I guess to soothe the term, they called it bipolar. Wow. So would we associate bipolar with mental health? It would be.
I want to ask an expert, but I'm thinking that we can. Yeah. I do think that we can.
Well, we know a few celebrities that suffer from it too. Demi Lovato, Jimi Hendrix, Kanye West, Frank Sinatra. Wow, Frank Sinatra. You would think music would be soothing. Are some of the high-profile celebrities who are combating bipolar disorder. Well, not Frank Sinatra anymore, because he's no longer here with us, rest his soul, but it's serious.
Yeah, it is. The good thing is that we know that these people can go on to lead very productive lives, because you just listed a few names. They're very accomplished people in their fields, and still we've seen episodes, and we know that it takes a toll.
And I also researched where they say they cannot find a single cause for it. So I can't even say I wonder what causes it. Right. If they can't put their finger on it, then how can I say?
Yeah. Well, and that's the point. It leads us to our next discussion here, our next discussion point, which is that the cause can be anything. A research team from the University of Michigan conducted a study on bipolar disorder that spanned 2 decades and found that bipolar disorder cannot be given a single root cause, as it is mostly the result of a combination of biological and environmental factors. So it's got to be the interplay. Maybe one and maybe the other, or it may be both.
Both. So it could be inherited, and then who you're around influence how you behave, how you think.
Wow. Scary stuff.
It is life-threatening, and support is vital. An essential 1 in 5 people diagnosed with bipolar disorder dies by suicide. Sad. World Bipolar Day is an opportunity to show those living with the day-to-day challenges of this condition that they are not alone. They have your support, and there is always hope.
And that's the point, because as we said before, we know that there are people who live with this condition, who go on to lead very productive lives despite they're facing many challenges. And I think that that's the resounding theme. This is what I want to take away from this discussion, especially shedding light on World Bipolar Day. The fact that when we've talked to experts, not necessarily about bipolar disorder, but when we talk to them about any ailments in particular, we realize that what they're saying is that the spirit seems to be indomitable.
Yep.
So that could help individuals lead productive lives.
Wow.
All right, World Bipolar Day's ultimate goal is to inspire a global shift in thinking that will eliminate social stigma and promote acceptance. And this year, the theme is bipolar together. So it's hashtag bipolar together. All right. So we're in this together.
We're all in this together. Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
just was about to say that. Because I'm sure we all have days where we're high and then we're low and then we don't want to do anything and then we want to stay in bed almost all day.
Oh no, not us, because we get up bright and early to be here.
Here.
You
But
get it.
I would have pulled in all day when I lived alone, like do absolutely nothing
Oh, you're allowed.
until the nighttime.
You're allowed.
Yeah.
You're allowed.
I guess we are allowed today.
Yeah, we are.
But yeah.
Well, thoughts out to anyone suffering from bipolar disorder and to the family members and friends of people who were
be
there for
kind.
those individuals as well. Good advice, Kortensia. Be kind indeed. We will be back in a moment, everyone. Stay tuned.
I wear a mask because I want to protect my child, but also I want to protect his classmates and his teachers.
I wear a mask because I care about the frontline workers who will have to work even harder if those around me get sick.
I wear a mask to protect my family. I wear a mask to protect you. I wear a mask because it is the right thing to do.
I wear a mask because I don't want to put any vulnerable individuals at risk, like my elderly loved ones.
I wear a mask because
We are all in this together.
As a hypertensive patient, in my home, I reduce salt intake by not adding salt during the preparation of my food, not having a salt shaker on my table, limiting the consumption of salty snacks, and choosing products with low sodium content. That's why I am salt smart.
Everyone is encouraged to adopt a healthy and positive approach to daily life. Here are a few friendly reminders.
When you go to the local market and food vendors, remember to maintain a social distance of 6 feet or 2 meters apart. And always wear your mask.
Always keep your hands clean. Wash your hands with soap and water or use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer.
When dining, choose restaurants with staggered seating. This will lower the risk of transmission.
If you have a fever, cough, or other respiratory symptoms, please wear a mask and seek medical care immediately. rest at home and do not visit the food vendors, local markets, or restaurants.
Welcome back to Good Morning SKN. Every year, March is designated Women's History Month. This month is set aside to specifically honor the cultural, political, and socio-economic achievements of women in world history. Today, we will be doing just that by entertaining a discussion between two women who reside right here in our Twin Island Federation. Patricia Walters, the current CEO of the Cable, she has almost 30 years of international experience as a business transformation leader. We also have Naima Hazel, the Deputy Director of the National Counseling Center. She wears many hats, including being the Vice Chairperson of the local chapter of Caribbean Women in Leadership, Sewell organization. Women's History Month began as an American national celebration in 1981, and in March 1987, it was designated as Women's History Month. Let's have a listen as these two women engaged in dialogue concerning the relevance of Women's History Month and breaking the bias. To start the discussion, I will ask this question. So, ladies, does this month truly bring clarity to women's concern and issues?
You would like me to start?
I think so.
I love the way she looked at me like naive. This is my very good friend, Pat. First, I'd like to say thank you for having me here. As on the other side, I really enjoyed engaging this month with our other guests, but I know Pat was missing, and I'm so glad to be able to be here to engage with her today. And of course, the entire audience. But I think that it's important. You have to think of it kind of like Black History Month, right? Would we ever say that Black History Month is enough to capture everything that that Blacks and Africans and people of heritage have created in society? Could we ever capture it all in one month? No, but it's also nice to be honored. It's nice that that the month would be created, that we'd have that opportunity to celebrate each other, because generally we don't celebrate ourselves and we don't celebrate each other. So even though it's not the end all and the be all, it's important that we have a month where we do have an opportunity for us to reflect on our issues and celebrate our achievements and really look at the contribution that women have made in the world and in our societies.
I think there's something about reinforcement as well, because of course we know there's lots of challenges, opportunities, progress that women can make in the world, here locally and in the region. But then it just shines a light on it, right? It shines a light on achievements that perhaps we wouldn't otherwise have seen if that forum wasn't there, and it's reinforced annually. Should we need that? Should we have to have something that forces us, a bit like Valentine's forces you to recognize your partner?
I love you.
You shouldn't have to have it, but there's no harm in having that, and then we just make the most of it. I was really proud this year to be able to recognize one of my team members, Aravinda Hughes.
Oh, nice.
Yes, you know, we have examples all over. We don't have to look right through history. We have lots of great examples here of spectacular women. And so Aravinda, national football player, second runner-up in National Candle Queen, and a technician. Yeah.
And a technician, I love
and
that.
And a technician, yeah. And so, you know, women can be powerful and recognized and exceptional for being who they are. They don't have to be like a CEO. They can just be like the best teacher, the best mother, the best makeup artist, the best entertainer, the best creator. They can be anything. We just need to own that power ourselves. And it's great that we have something worldwide that recognizes that.
That's very good. Now, Naima, I see you are the vice chair of Sewell. Can you elaborate a bit on Sewell for those of us who are not familiar on what
I
Sewell
actually
does?
think Sewell is a unique organization because it's actually I'd say bipartisan, because we can't say nonpartisan, but it's an organization that actually brings together women from throughout all of the political parties in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we work together in transformational leadership and really looking at how our issues are reflected in the political landscape and increasing the number of women in decision-making positions and creating support for that. So there's members from the Labour Party, from the People's Action Movement, from the People's Labour Party, from NRP, the Nevis Reformation Party, from CCM. There's literally members from every party in this organization. And you know, it's interesting because we talk a lot about division and the ways that we cannot work together. But to me, CWIL is an example of a way that actually as women, we do work together. You know, we had a meeting just last Saturday. Representation is there. There's a lot of stuff going on in the political spectrum right now. We're not concerned with it. Like, okay, these are the issues that we have to do. Oh, we have this project for CWIL. This is our yearly plan. Let's just go ahead moving to push women's issues and get more women into decision making. And CWIL is important because, you know, there's a lot of tokenism in politics, you know, and leadership, because all leadership is not political, you know. There's also people there who are leading in civil society, NGO leadership. So there's a lot of different areas that women are leading in. But it's important that we look at how we lead, you know. It's not that we need to be leaders like men, that we have our own thing that we bring to the political forum and the leadership forum that is unique and special. And that's very absent in today's politics, a real understanding of holistic systems, of how things work together. Because as women, that's something that comes almost naturally to us. Making something from nothing, working with less resources, multitasking, time management, considering others. We spend empathy. We spend all day considering others. We're not even recognized for that. So I'm glad that we can have that organization to show that women can work together to transform the landscape for women in terms of leadership and to support each other, not just locally in St. Kitts because it's a regional chapter, but throughout the Caribbean.
I think it's an excellent initiative.
Yeah, we'd love you to join. You see how I got that on TV? You see how I got that on TV?
Did you see that video that came out at the beginning of COVID?
I did.
And it was all the women. And it was like, while the world stopped and was looking at COVID, did you see that video? This person was Prime Minister, this person, and it was so many women, political leaders. And it was just incredible. And you looked at their record of how they managed COVID, and it was exceptional.
I was just going to refer to that because they said all the countries that were headed by women managed the COVID pandemic the best. Amazing. Amazing.
Because it's a pandemic that requires care. And we've been taught that, like, that's the weak position. So even like when we say that we appoint ministers, you have like your one female minister or your one representative. They're always given the care ministries, you know? Like we're the only ones that can do care. Right? They'll do money and we'll do care. Like it's
it's really interesting as well because leaders in business, so as you go up the hierarchy, you have like loads of women in the middle management and then into like the senior vice president. But when you get to the CEO level, it snaps. But the returns and the profits of those businesses led by women normally are better than those men.
Yes, right. Because we know how to put away a little coin in the purse.
Yes, we just look at things in a, no disrespect to men, but we just look at things in a much more multidimensional way.
Right.
You know, I say all the time in counseling that, you know, sometimes men see things in black and white. If your partner says it's this, that's what it is. It's in black and white. But if women see things in colors, you know? So we're looking at every detail, every aspect. This could affect this, and this could affect this, and this could affect this. And they're like, okay, we're going to make this decision.
And did you see the interview with Maya Motley with BBC? And they said, why is it that you think you make a difference in your role? Why, as a woman?
Yes.
And she said, because we care.
Yes.
And I just thought that was really powerful.
Yeah. And I think that's where we are right now in our leadership, that we need just more caring, especially following COVID.
Yes.
So women in these parts can now own property, vote. Do women today face challenges of similar magnitude?
What do you mean, like in terms of now that women have more opportunities than they used to? Oh, we still need more opportunities.
Of course, we still face challenges.
Yes.
I think not so much perhaps in our region, but you look worldwide, and absolutely, even to go to school and be educated is a challenge. And property management and financial management and owning your own and not depending on a man is still something I think that we really have to reinforce into our young women, that you empower yourself financially, you be financially independent, you own your own worth and not be dependent on a man for that. And I think that's a strong message that we still have to get out there. And I got my first property at the age of 28.
Wow.
And I had to work 3 jobs to get there.
Wow.
And so is that sacrifice there anymore? That, you know, I just want it now and I want someone to give it to me and I'm entitled to it. No, work for it.
Work for it. And if you see, even the systems are set up, I realized that when I was married, that the systems are set up for married people. Like, it's almost impossible, it's very difficult to own property if you don't marry somebody and combine your properties. Almost like it's your income's like it's a business transaction more than, so it's almost this idea that, like, as a single woman or an independent woman, it's so much more difficult. Pastor, she had to work 3 jobs to buy a piece of land. So a lot of the challenges that we have now are systemic challenges. So people always say, you know, we're not really having those issues in the Caribbean, but we are, but they're systemic. You know, like I like to compare Canadian and American racism, like, well, in Canada it's systemic. You don't really notice it, but it's present. Whereas in America, it's very outspoken. Everybody can see it, you know? So for us, I think we have a lot of systemic challenges. And because we see women advancing, we think, oh, everybody's advancing and the system is working for them. No, they're actually just working 3 times as hard to get the same thing that somebody else could get just by virtue of being a man.
A man, So, ladies, we are out of time for this segment. However, we will continue the discussion shortly. Stick and stay with us. We will be right back after this short commercial break.
Children, how can you tell a tsunami coming?
Teacher me.
Sammy?
My mother said, when uncle jump in the pool and the water spoosh out, that's how you tell a tsunami coming.
Settle down, children. Settle down. Do you remember our tsunami song?
Yes! When you feel it shaking and it's swimming around, you see the ocean gone like the fish and the sand. You should run, the higher ground, a tsunami soon come.
Mommy, Uncle not here and the other shake.
Hush your mouth.
Daddy, Uncle not here and the sea gone.
Who cares? You don't see all them free fish? Quick, give me the bag.
This is how you tell a tsunami a come. Teacher says so. I would have failed in school, you know.
Sammy, come, let me go. They would have failed anyhow. Let me run, see, Sammy.
When you feel the earth shaking and it's moving all around, you see the ocean gone like the fish and the sand. You should run, the higher ground, a tsunami soon come.
Salt is an important part of the human diet, but most of us consume more than we realize.
Earthquake call and say, hello, Miss Lee, yes, it's me, Earthquake, I come in Tuesday around 10. No, sir. Earthquake does arrive unannounced, and when it come, it shake all sense and sensibility out of we. Remain calm, stay inside, and do the DCH. Drop, cover, hold on. Once the shaking starts, you know it's earthquake. Make a quick move to a safe place. Don't run to the door, we are in the exit. Stairs might block up or full of people. Elevator, avoid that, because you might get in and poof, power gone, and you're stuck in that box without ear. Take cover under a strong table or a bed, or crouch against an inside wall or in a corner, and cover your face and your head with your arms. Remember, DCH, drop, cover, hold on. Glass windows and doors, outside walls and doors, in an earthquake, bad news. Take care yourself. Most injuries during earthquakes happen when something drop and hit people entering or exiting a building. Last thing, nobody run outside and ask, you feel it, you feel it? Remain calm, stay indoors until all the shaking stop, and do the DCH. Drop, cover, hold on.
And we're back on Good Morning SKN. Thank you for staying with us. We will continue our discussion now with Patricia Walters and Naima Hazel. So ladies, what can be done to ensure that the role of women is not taken for granted by both women and men? Because we're not going to leave the men out of this discussion.
Okay.
Shall I start this time?
Yes, you can.
Okay. I think honesty, no tokenism, making sure that the people that you develop, for me in the business world, that you develop and that you push forward are real. So it's not that who they know, what family they're with, that they have the capability to do the job and they want to do it. And it's not because of their tenure. I'll give you a story. I like stories. When I was working in the Bahamas, there was a female technician, another technician, who I thought would be fantastic to lead one of the outer family islands in the Bahamas. And I said to her, look, I want to promote you into this general manager job. But it isn't, you've got to know that it's not just technical, it's going to be customer service, it's going to be finance, it's going to be billing, it's going to be all of those things, retail. Do you want to do it? Yeah, absolutely. She got the promotion, showcased her, gave her the training and everything. And then in Nassau, then she went back to the family island. And then after a few months, I realized that, well, actually she was not really doing the job of the general manager. She was being a bit lazy. She was sitting in the office, she wasn't going out to see the customers, she wasn't engaging with the staff, having any meetings. So I was on her, and I was on her, and I was on her and said, listen, you need to be doing this. Anyway, I went to visit her and she said to me, you know something, I think you're a, she gave me the B word.
Oh.
I think you're such a, and I was like, what? I was like, okay, why do you think that? Oh, because you're always on me, you're always getting at me. And I said to her, no, you have so much potential, but I think you're lazy. I said, you really are lazy. You don't want to do the work to be the best. And I'm not going to promote you into a position if you're not the best. And I don't believe that you're the best. Anyway, she didn't take that. Left the Bahamas. After about 2 years, she sent me a WhatsApp chat. There's a song, there's a place for people like you, that really religious song. She sent it, I was like, what? She sent me this song? Then I said, thank you very much. That brightened up my day. She called me and she said, Miss Walters, I got down on my knees this morning and I prayed to God to forgive me for every wrong thing you ever said about me. She said, because I realize now that I have another manager that all you did was trying to get the best from me. She said, that's all you were doing. And I just thought, okay. So my mantra is to help women. You can empower them, you can give them all the tools and the skills, but they've got to want to do it, and they've got to want to be the best, and you nurture them that way. I will never promote somebody if I don't think they're ready. I will never promote somebody just because somebody thinks I should, or because of any affiliation. I won't do it. And I think that was my lesson to me as well, from both male and females that mentored me, that I wouldn't go forward unless I put the work in. That's what I would say.
Yeah, to follow up that, and also when the women put the work and acknowledge the work that they do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's important that we give women their flowers, that we acknowledge the work they do, and even though they might not be on the level of management, that you recognize them. It doesn't mean there has to be a plaque, and sometimes we do a lot of platitudes, you know? But sometimes a woman, like in our home, we just want somebody to say thank you for making that extra egg. Exactly. We want that. Yeah. And so in our boardrooms and on our jobs, we just want people to say thank you. Really, I appreciate that extra step you've done, and affirm people for the work they do, and affirm them to others around them by the positive things, like she's saying, that they're doing. Not just, you could be doing that better, even though you know that. There's a way to speak to people and to deal with people that is respectful and allows them their autonomy in the workplace and acknowledges their contribution that they make to the product.
Do you know, one of the things that I found in this region in particular, we don't easily give recognition and reward.
No.
It's very difficult. It's like you have to pull it out of someone, and then they think it's fake because it's not something they're accustomed
to.
And so I'll say, that was really great. And I go, or when some of my staff had COVID, Are you okay? Are you all right? Is your family okay? Is your kids okay? Are your kids okay? Because it's more than the person. They're in a unit, and you have to care about their family too.
Yeah, so they can feel
it's funny that you would say that, because even when I worked, I remember it's so important for you to even acknowledge that for women too, and not see their other roles as a weakness, you know?
Yeah.
So the idea that you pick up the phone to call to check, well, how is your family, means a lot to a woman, because nobody ever asks, how is her family? We're almost made to be like, okay, I'm gonna accommodate this thing in my family so I can do the job. But also to see that that's also a part of who we are. I think COVID brought that out for us, to see our other roles, because we were very busy, and sometimes as women we're taught to engage somehow like men, which is confusing for me. Like, leadership is leadership, whether you're a woman or you're a man. There's a way that men lead, and we lead sometimes in a different way. They're complementary. They're not, exclusive. So I feel like sometimes even those little things people don't recognize, because even when I used to work, people say, how do you get your staff to work for you? I learned that from my mom. You really appreciate them. And in my other job as a counselor, genuinely,
because they know the difference when it's not genuine.
They know when it's fake, you know, and that you would take your time. And in my counseling, wearing my counseling hat, when I think of people's love languages, generally one of their main love languages is affirmation. So it's like when I ask couples, well, what's your love language, or an individual, and they do the quiz, they're like, oh, it's words of affirmation. But like Pat said, we hardly ever affirm each other. Even to say to another woman on the street, your hair looks lovely.
I say it all the time, and they look at me like, I'm like, I love your dress. Your shoes are great. And it's true. It's genuine. It's coming.
Genuine,
it's not fake.
And it will change somebody's day. But also then in that aspect, to bring it to that level for men, like telling us that, oh, your butt looks great in those pants, it's not really doing it for us, you know. Even if a woman is giggling, sometimes she's giggling uncomfortably. Sometimes even that's the affirmation she's accustomed to, so she'll accept it because that's the only kind of affirmation. But try to affirm the things that we do and what we are, but don't just affirm us because of our sex and because it benefits you to affirm us that day.
There's another example that I had with one of my young aspiring leaders, and she's really gorgeous, really gorgeous, and she knew it. So she started wearing stuff to work that wasn't appropriate for the office. And I pulled her aside and said, look, we're not in a disco. I don't want a glitter dress. I don't want the lashes that you're fluttering. And I said, look at the discussion we just had, and we were just talking to some suppliers, and she was like this, and they just completely disregarded her. And then I spoke to them and I said, just look at what happened there and look at the results. Yes, they laughed and they flirted with you, but did you get the business result? I said, and if you they didn't respect you now, they won't respect you. And look at the other conversation that I had with them, and they're going to respect me now as perhaps not an equal, so neither do, but as a business equal. And she completely changed her outfit, her look, the way that she talked, the way that she interacted with her suppliers. So we have to give that, and it's not that we're being horrible or we're jealous of them or anything. It's just, listen, this is how you are in this environment.
But do you realize though, Patricia, that you mentioned the way she was dressed, right? But a gentleman can be dressed a type of way and we would still respect them. Why is it you think we don't garner that same respect from them? Because they don't always have to be in a suit and tie for us to respect them. You know, we just respect them overall. So why is it we couldn't get the same respect?
I think that goes back to the systemic issues, right? That we don't talk about, how we view women by how they're dressed. That a woman I remember once I worked at a school, and an education official who at the time was the vice principal told me that I was a prostitute because I had an ankle bracelet. Never forget it. I thought it was amusing to me. I just, my mother's child, so I'm like, you can say what you want. I'm gonna wear my ankle bracelet now every day. But even things like that, it was like, well, where do you get that judgment? So sometimes we have to challenge the judgment, but sometimes we also have to see our accountability. There's appropriate, like you can't come to work in your slippers and your shorts, but if you're coming in something casual, there's also an appropriate way. You can't be, we don't want people to sexualize us, so then sometimes it's difficult to dress in ways that it's difficult not to be sexualized because of the nature of the systems of our country where generally we are quite sexualized. So it requires us again as women to accommodate for the male gaze, which we don't want to do, but if we're trying to be seen, we make accommodations in that setting, because realistically, as much as we have male allies, our expectation is not going to be that they're going to accommodate for things that they don't require accommodation for.
That's an excellent point.
Yes. Wow, look at that.
That was a good question.
So Before we go, because we're a little pressed for time, I was hoping we had more because this conversation is really interesting.
Yes.
What would you ladies say we need to continue to do to actually shatter? Because we say we shattered the ceiling, but a lot of women still say we have plenty more work to do. So what can we do to continue to get up there to finally break it wide open?
I think you just have to excel. You have to be the best. You have to be the best. And the other thing I wanted to end by saying is we have a responsibility to go like this. Go back and pull somebody up with us.
Yes.
That's what I'd like to leave with.
Yeah, I think
was deep. I got some bumps.
Yeah, I just yeah, we have to help each other. We're not in competition against each other. You know, we can really support each other and see each other's strengths. Nobody is good at everything.
Yeah.
You know, but somebody is good at something. And rather than talking to women about limited that to their relationships, the man. I love when women are happy and they're like, "That lady looks good. She lost some weight. She's joyful. She's doing well in her job. She must have a man." Yeah, that's right. So we have to see ourselves as bigger than that as well, and see that we are. Yeah, it's nice to fill in these ideas that we have in society as what makes you a good woman and a good mother, but it's also better just to be one, and to work on yourself and to have an awareness of self, and always to be consistently trying to grow and learn. I think as women that's really important, and not to take, like Pat was using in her examples, not to take the constructive criticism of women who you see in positions that you aspire to as an offense. Instead, take it as a learning experience, and also a fact that they have experience. You might have innovation. We do it a lot with our young people. We think they don't have ideas, but they do. They're full of innovation, but they don't have the experience because they're young. They haven't had a chance. But we have experience, so why not combine the experience and innovation? And I think as women, like Pat said, we have to pull each other up. At Seawell, we help each other. Like, you should be speaking to your candidate about the language that he used. You know, we need to be doing more work in this. How many representatives do you have? How can we support this candidate who just had a baby? You know, so there's things that we have to do because those are models. You know, for us to see as women that no, we're not limited by who we are as women. It's an asset to us. So I wish as women we would see our qualities as a gift and not as a curse. And that we would move forward in the strength of our womandom and our sisterhood.
Lovely.
And that would be the message that I would give.
Ladies, it was indeed a pleasure speaking to you both today. I hope this is not our last conversation and that we will have many more. So thank you for coming once again.
Thank you too.
You are welcome. And audience, thank you for listening to us. We will be right back after this brief break.
Let's face it. Most parents or guardians don't want to think about their teens having sex, let alone contemplate the possibility that they might get pregnant or get someone pregnant. Teenage pregnancy is a situation that involves female adolescents. A teenage female can be pregnant as early as age 12 or 13, although it is usually 14 and older. The fact that teenagers become pregnant is related to many factors. Here are some tips to decrease teen pregnancy. Teach teenagers comprehensive sex education. Target messages at teen boys, not just girls. Get the whole community involved. Encourage mentoring, parental involvement, and support. This message was brought to you by Project Viola through the Department of Gender Affairs with support from the Basic Needs Trust Fund and the Caribbean Development Bank.
Where are you going? I just mopped the floor and now the chair leaving marks all over the place. Come on, go in bed, see? Sometimes I just can't take you on.
Violence is expressed in many ways. Most, unfortunately, go unreported or unaddressed for many reasons. If you or someone disabled is being abused, contact the police at 465-2241, social services at 467-1314, or the St. Kitts Nevis Association of Disabled Persons at 465-2151, 663-9077, or 663-4116. This message was brought to you by the Department of Gender Affairs in collaboration with the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO.
Most people consume excess salt from processed foods, such as snack foods, processed meats, instant meals, and condiments.
Instead, use fresh vegetables, ground provision, fresh meats, and natural herb seasonings, just like our grandparents did, and just like you did with this soup. We are Salt Smart.
No cash, no card, no problem. Dad, embrace the freedom.
各位朋友，大家好. Greetings, my lovely people. I'm Chantel, residing in Taiwan. 12 hours time difference. It's nighttime here, morning time in SK. I'm busy and on the go. However, I always manage to keep up to date with what's happening in SK. All thanks to Good Morning SKN. Good morning SKN. Ciao, bango.
Welcome back to Good Morning SKN. Earlier today, we had a discussion on Women's History Month and its effectiveness, and reached with Patricia Walters and Naima Hazel. Now we will be speaking with another woman who is a trailblazer in many regards. This woman is Ambassador Rosalind Hazel. Pleasant good morning, Miss Hazel, and welcome to Good Morning SKN.
Good morning, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Ambassador. It's great to have you indeed.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Very
I'm
well,
not
indeed.
seeing you guys, by the way.
You won't be able to see us until the end of the interview, though.
Oh, okay. All right. You know, I'm learning.
Technology being what it is.
Yes. So you were the first permanent secretary of the Ministry of Community Development, Social Services and Gender Affairs. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I think that in the credit for that, I think would go to our former Prime Minister, Dr. Douglas, where I think he recognized that a number of the departments that dealt with human development were tacked on to various ministries. I would call them various super ministries, health, trade, etc. And he realized that if it was going to be a serious approach for his administration, then he needed to bring all of those various departments together in a ministry. I think he said, what was the term? Be careful what you ask for. Because I had been making so much noise about the fact that these departments were not properly funded, they weren't given credit for the work that they needed to do, etc. And so following the 2000 election, he decided that he will create a super ministry, and I had the honor and the privilege of being its first permanent secretary.
Great. So you are not only the secretary, but you are a superwoman indeed.
Ambassador, if you could walk us through some of your experiences during that time, what were the highlights for you?
I think my highlight was a lot. I would say that the highlight for me started back in 1995, because before I became the permanent secretary for the superhuman ministry, as I called it, I was the first director of women's affairs. And so my excitement and my drive for seeing there to be more programs and more cohesiveness within the country started back from there. So it was under that things like I started to put together the Domestic Violence Act, the Teenage Mothers Policy to Return to School, etc. So it was exciting in a number of ways also to collaborate and reach out to UN agencies who were interested in working with us in these various areas, and also very interested in how we were making our international commitments a reality. For example, our domestic violence legislation, I know that it changed somewhat, I think, in 2014, but when it was first enacted, it was one of two legislation within CARICOM that nationalized our commitment that we made when the country signed the Belém do Pará convention, which spoke to the elimination, punishment, and prevention of violence against women. So that's where the excitement started. And so I took that into the approach of being the permanent secretary. So I came into that role understanding some of the struggle, having had to work under permanent secretaries and trying to establish the country as a place that was committed to these issues and committed to ensuring that, if not all, because we don't have the capacity to do everything, but if not all, as much as possible of our commitments to become a reality, because then I became the driver, let's put it that way.
Okay. So, Ms. Hazel, why was it important, or I would say, why was it instrumental for you to ensure that teen mothers return to school? Because when I was in school, I had a few classmates that got pregnant, and they were saying, oh, if they came back to school, they are going to influence the others to get pregnant. So why did you feel the need to be instrumental in these moms returning to school after their pregnancies?
Because Kortensia, when you look at a number of the social issues, you can't look at correcting them without putting in place the mechanisms in which to do so. Mm-hmm. We were also looking at poverty and what was the level of poverty within the society. Mm-hmm. The issue of violence within the society, the whole idea of women and their independence and their ability to be able to take care of themselves. Now, we had a legislation that said that it was statutory rape if you engaged in sexual relations with someone under the age of 16. Mm-hmm. Yet when I started to check the schools, etc., in terms of how many girls had been out of school because of pregnancy, and then I checked that against the police record, there was really no punishment. So in other words, you were re-victimizing the victims. You were setting them up for poverty. You were setting them up for abuse. You were setting them up for dependency and not being able to not only take care of themselves, but take care of their children. And we had, in fact, signed CEDAW, which spoke to the whole issue of ending discrimination against women and girls in a number of areas, and education was one of them. The law was another area as well. So they were being discriminated against in several ways. And in addition to that, we also was signees to the Convention on the Rights of the Child. And our own Education Act said that a child should be in school between the ages of 5 and 16. And so in a number of ways, the practice that we had was infringing on not only our own legislation in terms of the age for sexual activity, the age for being in school, etc., but also those two main commitments that we made. And so I coined it at the time as ability is of little or no use without opportunity. So if you had the ability, but the opportunity wasn't there for you to continue your education, it basically was setting you up for a life possibly of abuse, not being able to come to your own realization in terms of your potential. And at the end of the day, who suffers for that?
The child.
The society. When I look now and I see some of the people who went back into school as soon as that policy was announced by then Minister of Education, Mr. Herbert, I feel very pleased. I feel very, 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 very happy because I see that the idea of what these people would have lost, what the country would have lost if these people didn't have an opportunity to further their education. That's basically the major thrust.
Okay. All right, well, we will continue our discussion shortly, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this break.
As a hypertensive patient, in my home, I reduce salt intake by not adding salt during the preparation of my food, not having a salt shaker on my table, limiting the consumption of salty snacks, and choosing products with low sodium content. That's why I am salt smart.
Going out tonight. I got a hot date. He older than me, but I don't care. I like what he telling me. He say I look sweet and ting. What? You want me go home with him? Nice. Boy, I wonder if I'm ready for this. I notice he ain't got a condom, but I gonna go ahead, see? He might think me ain't like him or trust him. Plus, this my first time. Nothing gonna happen to me. Lord, how could I let this happen? I ain't ready for no child. Who can support me and my child? My man gone jail and mommy and daddy said they ain't gonna help. I all on my own. How could I be so careless? I wish I could go back to that now. But my education on hold. How could I let this happen? Don't let this happen to you. Contact the Department of Gender Affairs to find out about confidential offices and personnel available to answer questions about your sexuality or pre- or postnatal concerns.
This message was brought to you by Project Viola through the Department of Gender Affairs with support from the Basic Needs Trust Fund and the Caribbean Development Bank.
Welcome back to Good Morning SKN. We are now going to continue our very engaging and informative discussion with Ambassador Rosalind Hazel. Ambassador, the point that you made before the break, I was telling you that I think it was a very important point to make in terms of what informs decisions that have been taken, particularly during your time, but decisions in general that any government official would take. The Teen Mothers Program, I find, was a very good initiative, and I'm glad that you explained it the way that you did, to say that there are many different facets to any decision, and considering that the girls who might eventually grow up to be women who could be victimized by men because of socioeconomic, issues. I think it's really good that that initiative was completed the way that it has been completed. That being said, I now want to shift gears a little bit to speak to you about your role in supporting the advancement of gender equality. And before you answer, since we speak to gender equality, I want to know specifically if by that term, your work involves men as well as women.
Yes, I think that the balance of the society. Yesterday I watched your program and I saw that the logo that I created for gender affairs, women's affairs, gender affairs, because it switched over, was still being used. And if you look at that logo explains exactly what it is that you just asked me. Because what I did was combined the symbol for women, the symbol for men, deliberately colored the symbol for men in pink. And as you can see, the symbol, when you look at the logo again, is multicolored where women are concerned. So it spoke to the fact that we wanted in all sphere of our lives, at all levels of our lives, at all educational, social economic level of our lives, we were moving into, with the Peace Doves, to form an alliance with men so that society would be more balanced. And I like to use the word parity in some instances, because I think if we start to talk about parity, let's pair ourselves together. What are some of the areas that we can find common ground? And so it's important. When I was there, we had, I think it was under Michelle Delacadre Blake, we also had a male group that spoke to the issue, and also under Ingrid and Sheila Harris. That's a name that we don't hear anymore. We had a male group, Ray, I don't remember his last name, Ray John was the leader of that group, where we partnered and we had discussions with men about parenting, about communication, understanding anger, etc. And so, yes, you can't have equality or parity without inclusion of all of the people of the society. And that includes all levels of the society, which is why you also have the female symbol in the gender affairs logo that has different colors. And then you have the Peace Dove.
Well, thank you. I will definitely look at that logo again, and I'll be sure to see everything that you just explained so eloquently.
Okay.
So can you tell us, I see you're involved in many associations, the Aspire Artemis Foundation, you are in the UNESCO Technology Committee, you have a passion for women and girls empowerment. So how do you manage all of these on a day-to-day basis?
Wow, that's part of having when I say I'm retired, my colleagues at Aspire say to me, go sit down. But I think it's a continuation of all of my passions.
Okay.
Aspire is a foundation that is made up of several persons that I have come across throughout the opportunity that I had representing St. Kitts in various forums. And I don't know if you're aware of the SDGs, which came out of the Millennium Goals. One of the things that Aspire is doing is looking at some of those goals and how we can help disadvantaged communities to meet some of those goals. And we are partnering with international organizations, and we're also partnering with governments, and we're looking at training, capacity building. What do I call it? They say I get very excited when it comes to the issue of mentorship, because I believe that there's a lot of things that persons like me and other persons can impart to our younger people. I know that our young people are trying very hard to feel for themselves, make a name for themselves in the society, and that's great. But we also need to be mentoring them, because if we mentor them, and if they allow us to mentor them, we may be able to help them not to fall into certain pit holes. So part of the Aspire mandate is mentorship, and that's my bailiwick, let me put it that way. So we're doing a lot of educational approach. We're working with young women, young girls. We're working in partnership with different countries. In 2020, we worked with St. Lucia. This year, we are working with the BVI, and we are going to be having what we call a hybrid 3-day session in the BVI, chaired by the Premier of the BVI. And that is to bring together, young persons. And when I say hybrid, I'm talking about the fact that we will have people in person and we will have people participating virtually. And we have also partnered with Microsoft in trying to bring that 3-day program together as one of our sponsors.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep active.
Well, you seem to be doing a very good job.
And I'm trying to make a difference in the world, one little bit at a time.
That's good.
That's so important, Ambassador. In our final moments, and I do wish we had more time to talk to you, but in our final moments, the last question that I have for you concerns any training or support that you give or perhaps have given to professionals in Africa.
Okay. Yeah, one of the other things that I do is I do training throughout various African countries. I deal with executives. I do training in conflict management, emotional intelligence, effective leadership, understanding the Sustainable Development Goals. And so I've worked with a number of companies in various countries. I've also worked with politicians, training on how to be effective leaders, how to understand your mandate. Because one of the things that I've learned, even when I was in St. Kitts, I speak about our commitment. And many times, as leaders, we go out and we commit the country to certain things, but then we don't translate that back down. And the ministries or the departments who should have the mandate to ensure that the country meet those international commitments, many a times they're not aware of them. it's not worked into their work program. It's not worked into their action plans. So some of the things that I've been doing is trying to help agencies to understand that using the SDGs, as well as training non-politicians in terms of executive principles, etc.
Very engaging and exciting work, and I am so glad that you are keeping active. I can see why your colleagues tell you to sit down when you say that you're retired, because you've got the energy and the drive, and I'm glad that you're keeping very active. Ambassador,
They don't just say sit down. They're like, please, Ambassador, go sit down over there somewhere. I'm tired my foot.
Well, if your work keeps you back on Good Morning, brings you back to Good Morning SKN for further discussions, we will be so happy that if you don't retire. So please stay close to us. It's been a pleasure, Ambassador, talking with you.
I will not retire, and maybe closer to our activity in the BVI, which comes up right after Easter.
Okay.
That might be something to discuss, because it gives an idea of quickly what we call STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. But at Aspire, we've put an A in bracket. So it's science, technology, engineering, arts and culture, and maths. And so this program in the BVI is around our commitment to ensure that our Caribbean and other young women from marginalized societies around the world can do that. And it's an international activity. We're also engaging with Costa Rica, Chile, Djibouti, and Malta as our next platforms for bringing a similar program as the one that we will be bringing to BVI. And it gives the country an opportunity to partner. And as you know, with COVID, we see a lot of our countries who are dependent on tourism having struggles. So it's great to partner with the government of the BVI. And yes, we're going to have, I'm just going to say, Jerusalem. I'm going to even try to do the dance. So we're having a couple of challenges, and we're having the artists that will be present as well. So I'd be really very happy if you see it fit in your schedule that we can come back and speak to you, maybe even during the time when I'm in the BVI.
We're getting the thumbs up from our executive producer, so that is a go. Definitely. We will be talking with you in the next few weeks. Thank you, Ambassador, for spending time with us this morning. It's been...
much. Great job, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm so proud of you. They're my lovely niece. Keep going. Keep going. I like the camaraderie between the two of you. You're both very great as co-hosts.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. We're humbled. You too. More Good Morning SKN in a moment, everyone. Stay tuned.
Self-health management refers to the measures people take to manage their own health. You and I should remember to wash hands often with soap and water, or use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Avoid touching your eyes, mouth, and nose. Take your temperature morning and evening. Watch for symptoms. Persons with diabetes or hypertension are reminded to take your medication regularly as prescribed. If you have no symptoms, you may carry out your normal routine and boost your immune system. When you are outside, avoid public spaces and wear a mask at all times. If you develop symptoms, put on a mask and seek medical care. Do not take public transportation. Inform the doctor of your travel history, any contact with confirmed or suspected cases, your occupation,
and whether anyone around you has similar symptoms. If you become ill, please rest at home. Wear a mask and isolate yourself from others in your household. If you share a bathroom, disinfect daily using 1 part bleach to 10 parts water. Everyone must work together to reduce the spread of the coronavirus.
Everyone is encouraged to adopt a healthy and positive approach to daily life. Here are a few friendly reminders.
When you go to the local market and food vendors, remember to maintain a social distance of 6 feet or 2 meters apart. And always wear your mask.
Always keep your hands clean. Wash your hands with soap and water or use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. When dining, choose restaurants with staggered seating. This will lower the risk of transmission.
If you have a fever, cough, or other respiratory symptoms, please wear a mask and seek medical care immediately. Rest at home and do not visit the food vendors, local markets, or restaurants. Do you know that common baked goods such as bread and crackers are high in salt? Get Salt Smart.
Veggies for dinner. Let me just check the amount of sodium in this can. Oh no, this is too much. Let me try our next option. They did say it's healthy to consume less salt. This is much better. I am salt smart.
Welcome back to Good Morning SKN. The Department of Agriculture in Nevis hosted 2 consecutive Agriculture Open Days last week on the 24th and the 25th of March at the El Camino T. Willett Park. This event focused on, quote, fostering economic growth through innovation, end quote. Today we're honored to welcome to Good Morning SKN Randy Elliott, Director of Agriculture in the Nevis Island Administration, and Steve Reed, Chief Extension Officer, also in the Nevis Island Administration. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Welcome.
Morning. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's great to have you discussing something that's very important to our economy, indeed, agriculture. So this is not the first open day that the department has held in Nevis. Are you keeping track? How many have there been so far, especially since you've had 2 back-to-back?
Well, I guess I'll take this one. It's about 25 years now.
Wow.
We've been hosting this event, and the background of it was basically to expose the farming public to the rest of the island as to what is going on in agriculture with the farmers and what we at the Department of Agriculture have been doing over a period of time. For this exhibition, we, had missed it for the last 2 years because of the pandemic. And as you know, most of the government emphasis was on agriculture. So we wanted to show to the general public exactly what progress that we had made during this last 2 years when we were absent from this event.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot to boast about, so we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. So tell us about the theme, fostering economic growth through innovation.
Mr. Elliott? Okay.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning, sir.
The theme that we chose this year would have came up from the experiences that we would have seen over the past 3 years, especially during the pandemic, where the general public would realize that since the onset of the pandemic, while most of the other sectors were closed, agriculture kept going. And we would have done quite a bit of initiatives here in Nevis in terms of ensuring that there was some level of activity taking place on the island of Nevis. We would have done 1 or 2 farmers market. We would have done 1 or 2 projects with ICA along with other government institutes in terms of ensuring that the various households, persons who were affected by the COVID, had some sort of small backyard garden, whatever the case may be, to plant, not just for the table, but also that they could have received some sort of revenue from such. And on that basis, we decided that we look at the sector in terms of fostering economic growth through innovation. And a lot of the times that you're able to do so without a big chunk of budget.
All right, so in speaking to that theme again, I'm wondering if you could explain in a more granular fashion the innovation. How did that play a role?
Okay, the innovation as it relates to, for instance, sometimes when persons hear the term innovation, persons think of something large, persons think of something glamorous, but it is not always of such. It is the birth of an idea, the birth of a dream or passion, and bringing it forward. That's basically, to us, what is innovation. Like, for instance, in the pandemic, we did some distribution of seeds, land prep, fertilizer, labor, and so forth to our farmers. That was innovation because we were able to do so before you would have heard many of our other Caribbean brothers and sisters is doing such. We commence a monthly farmers market to ensure that the general public have access to food. So these are just some of the small innovations that we did, like innovative ideas. We went out and we did some grow boxes to persons who were affected, mostly single parents, mostly women. That was innovative on our behalf because it is not something that was the norm before.
Well, thank you for addressing that.
Yes, and if I could add to that, the pandemic really affected a number of households. And a lot of individuals would have been renting, whether it's an apartment or, a small room. So we pushed a lot of container gardening, and just not the traditional, but stacked upon like tower. We planted a lot of sweet potato from a department aspect so that we could have some level of food security. Just in case the containers didn't come, we were preparing just in case of a worst case scenario. And as a result of we planting acres upon acres of crops such as sweet potato, we innovated and came up with our own potato harvester. So we no longer needed any forks to fork it out. And new varieties of seeds, we had to be very innovative, varieties that could tolerate the conditions that would have been present, especially during the summer times.
All right, well, shifting gears for a little bit, I know my co-host and I are eager to know what took place at the open days. So what can you tell us, gentlemen?
Steve release.
Yes. I didn't hear that one.
What took place at the open days?
Oh, yes. The open day was basically a showcase for us in this profession to show off what we have accomplished, and for the farmers to create a market for them to expose the general public of the quality of stuff that is produced here. So there would have been fresh produce, as usual, processed, whether it would have been hot sauce, jams, jellies. We also have the art section, cosmetics, soaps, and makeup that would have been made from our local products. We would have had, of course, the abattoir with a range of products, whether it's ground beef, sliced, specialized cuts of meat, ranging from pork, mutton, beef, straight through. We even introduced rotisserie chicken that was local chicken that was grown here to the general public. We also would have had entertainment where local bands, folklore, we even had artists from St. Kitts by the name of Infamous. I think he came over to perform. Going around, we had the livestock section that would have displayed different systems of husbandry, whether it's in poultry or small ruminants. We had on display new breeds of animals such as the Boer goat that is more prolific and gives more meat than the traditional breeds that we would have had. We had new breeds of pigs, poultry, and of course we had an exotic area which the kids went crazy over, where we had a range of exotic animals like the turtles and geese and animals that you would not normally see in our environment. And of course, we had horseback riding, where the kids enjoyed themselves, where they went on the horseback and took a short trip around a section of the park, just to name a few in a short space of time. But it was providing something for everyone, not only just the farmers and the adult, but entertainment and a fun area for the kids with the bouncing castle, etc.
Ooh, sounds so exciting.
So, gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this brief commercial break to continue our conversation.
Bless up, Dejo here, and I'm doing my part in the fight against COVID-19 by following all safety protocols and, most importantly, rolling up my sleeve for the vaccine. So I'm encouraging you to do the same, because that's our best shot of protecting ourselves, our family, and our friends. So don't wait, vaccinate. Let's roll up to roll out.
face. Once we're vaccinated, and everybody gonna be safe. Everybody gonna be one kind, yeah. One people. We are roll up to roll up, yeah. Cause no man's alone, do what's right. Alright, cause I love you, brother, my sister. And we're in this together, my sister, my brother. I don't wanna lose you. I love you too much. I think it's better for us, yeah, yeah. It's better for us. Hey, I don't wanna lose you. I love you too much, yeah, yeah. It's better for us. Tell your mommy to roll up to roll out.
You can lower your salt intake by reducing salty foods, removing table salt, and using salt alternatives when cooking.
And we're back here at Good Morning SKN as we continue our discussion with Randy Elliott and Steve Reed.
All right, so this is the interesting part for me. We see events like Open Days and we say, you know, this is a lot of work. It takes time to plan it. You're displaying all the things that you're doing, but I know for a fact that there is a lot of work going on behind the scenes. So I'm going to ask both of you to give us a sense of, you know, the team working behind the scenes, the planning that goes into events like this, and what it really means for the economy of St. Kitts and Nevis as well.
Okay. But basically, for the Agricultural Open Day, we here in Nevis, we like to dub it as the largest single event. I know there are some persons who probably disagree. Probably they will say cultural is a little bigger, they might say the inter-primary is a little bigger. But when we speak of the magnitude of the event in terms of a single department hosting such an event, in terms of bringing so many different sectors together, we do believe that it's significant. And when we even look at the patrons that come and support, the number of persons that actually come through the gate, hence why we believe that because we can proudly say it's the largest event in Nevis. We normally plan our Open Day the previous year from October, November the previous year. But this year it was a little different because there were a lot of uncertainty in terms of whether or not we'll be able to have the event at the magnitude in which we would like. And hence, preparation for this event would have commenced extremely late. I think it was around mid-January. is when we actually commence preparation for this event. In terms of preparation, we normally meet with all our stakeholders in terms of the farmers, the craft individuals, the ornamentalists, the agro-processors, etc., and inform them of the date and of the theme, and to see what support can be rendered to ensure that the day when the actual event comes is one of success. In terms of work on the ground, our work on the ground this year started, it was like 3 weeks before the date, because again, you're hosting an event at the ETW Park, where when you look on the ground itself, I think agriculture open is the only event that has been held on the ground itself, outside of football or cricket. And there's a lot of infrastructure that have to be put in place, whether it's access to water, electricity, and those sort of things. So each booth can have the required utility that may be needed. I must say kudos to Mr. Reed, because this year is the first time Mr. Reed was charged in terms of preparing the facility, and I must say kudos to him, because he would have done an exceptionally good job in terms of preparing the facility. And I think in terms of facility preparation, that is something that persons normally overlook, because Mr. Reed himself, before he was charged with this, he basically looked after his division, which was extension. But now he has to ensure that now the facility, the grounds is set for every division, every farmer, every agro-processor, every caterer. He has to ensure that the grounds is set for that. And I think that he did very well with that. We had to do quite a bit of renovations and so forth this year. We had to put in a number of new lines, power supplies, because again, it has been 2 years since we haven't been at the facility. We did some work to the facility also with Mr. Reed and his team. And basically, at the onset of the event, the weekend before the event now is when we have to put all the plans together, the logistics in terms of the layout, who goes where, how many tents we're going to need, what tents goes where, how do we keep it flowing. And we still have to cater for those persons who come and register after the registration date. I think we had a date this year of the 11th of March. And at the 11th of March, you only had 25% of the persons registered. A number of persons came long after the registration date. So we had to facilitate these individuals. Some persons came even last week, Monday, the same week of the event. And we had to facilitate. So there's a lot that goes in behind the scene to ensure on the day of the event, there's no hiccups. On the eve of the event, vendors are able to bring in whatever they wish to bring in. Farmers can bring the vegetables the evening before. Vendors can bring the stove, the grills, whatever the case may be. Other agencies can bring the display the eve before the event, because again, security, we have to be hired and so forth to ensure that these things are safe. So there's quite a bit of work that is done behind the scene, and on the day of the event, the work still doesn't stop, because you have the few that comes on the day of the event, the morning of the event, wondering where's their space, and you have to facilitate. Sometimes even the day of the event, it is quite tedious, but I must say thanks to my team this year, who would have gone above and beyond. The team this year is a fairly new team. Persons who would have worked the last mega open that we had, which was the 25th back in 2019. Some of those persons are retired. So there are a number of persons this year that they're experiencing the first open day, not knowing what to do. There are some of the staff that came and said, hey, I only know what goes on at the open day from as a school child coming with my class. So it was very tedious, but I must say thanks to the team that ensured the 2 days was successful. And thanks to the persons that came out and support. When we look at the entry into the gates, we're looking at about 4,000 persons coming in over the 2 days. And this is just persons who we account for, because there are a number of persons who came through the gates before the gates were put in position in terms of us to have some mechanism to document the number of persons.
Okay.
So
I can see why you say that it's the biggest event.
So we're looking at about 4,000 or 5,000 persons coming to the gate. At the 2015 open day, the traffic to the gate was exceeding 6,000 persons coming through for the 2 days.
Awesome.
So I must say thanks to the general public also, who continue to support the Department of Agriculture.
Well, there's indeed a lot to be grateful for. Your team seems to be doing an excellent job.
Yes.
Gentlemen, we want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us about the Agricultural Open Day and what it means for, of course, the Nevis Island administration, but the Federation as a whole. Thank you for your work. Do continue to do well. Thanks again, gentlemen, for taking the time. More Good Morning SKN in a moment. Stay tuned, everyone.
Good morning. This is Carol from Lux Carnival, and I listen to Good Morning SKN.
Most people consume excess salt from processed foods, such as snack foods, processed meats, instant meals, and condiments.
Instead, use fresh vegetables, ground provision, fresh meats, and natural herb seasonings, just like our grandparents did, and just like you did with this soup. We are Salt Smart.
No cash, no card, no problem. Dad, embrace the freedom.
I wear a mask because I want to protect my child, but also I want to protect his classmates and his teachers.
I wear a mask because I care about the frontline workers who will have to work even harder if those around me get sick.
I wear a mask to protect my family. I wear a mask to protect you. I wear a mask because it is the right thing to do.
I wear a mask because I don't want to put any vulnerable individuals at risk, like my elderly loved ones.
I wear a mask because
we are all in this together.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's time for us to loosen up. And as we do, we're going to look back on what happened last Sunday at the Academy Awards, which is known as the Oscars. All right. Yeah, it's motivating us to do something for Loosening Up. So these awards are presented to personalities for their artistic and technical merit in the film industry. And somehow, yes, our team here, I don't know if we're going to call them the Oscars or could we say the Roskers, the team behind the Roskers? Kortensia and I are going to have a conversation about movie genres, and we are actually going to answer the question of if our life were to be a movie, what genre would it be? So this is why I say the Roskers, because we've got people behind the scenes, of course, planning this whole thing for us. Pretty soon they'll put our stories into production.
Yeah, movie stars. Plus yesterday we had the director, so dun dun dun.
Oh, okay, there you go. But we have directors every day, though. And they just don't make it to this side of the camera.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you had to make a movie of your life, what would your movie be?
I don't know what I can't tell you what the title would be, but I can tell you what the genre would be. I say all the time, my life is a sitcom. My life is actually a sitcom.
I'm laughing and the movie hasn't been produced.
Well, there you go. You talk about Murphy's Law. My life is a sitcom. And I guess I could relate to that because I looked at a lot of comedies when I was younger. Definitely, and I'm going to say it, yes, I'm a Will Smith fan. Fresh Prince. I looked at Murphy Brown, for those of you who know Murphy Brown as the mean-spirited journalist with a heart of gold. Loved Murphy Brown. Looked at The Nanny.
Oh, The Nanny was fun.
The Nanny was fun.
Yeah,
it was everything. And I say there are elements in those things that cause me to say, you know what, my life is a comedy, because there are things that I look at and I say, oh, this could only happen to me.
Only you.
Yeah, only me. What about you?
So my movie will have a little bit of suspense. It'll have some drama because I'm dramatic on days, and then it'll have plenty of adventures because I love adventure. So what will the name of my movie will be A Day in the Dramatic, Suspenseful, Adventurous Life of Kortensia.
What is that? That's a very long title. You know, that reads like a bill. We need a short title.
Okay, let me see a short title.
Reads like legislation.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't think of it.
You can't think of it? Okay.
No, but that would definitely be what you will get in the movie if you were to watch a movie of my life.
I feel like I'm in school right now. I'm going to raise my hand. I have a suggestion. Wait to be called The Kangaroo. That's what we're going to call that one, okay? That's the short title of your movie.
That is,
The Kangaroo.
The Kangaroo.
Actually, we'll call it Kangaroo Girl. That works. True Capital, you listening to this? We're giving you an idea. You can come back and you can discuss it with us. The Kangaroo Girl. Okay, there we go. A Day in the Dramatic. You see, you can't even hold the title on the screen because it's that long.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
My movie.
Okay, I'll give you my title. It Could Only Happen to Jamie. That's my title.
Okay, that sounds fair enough. It could only happen to Jamie, yeah.
It could only happen to Jamie. No need to ask who the star of that is. The name is of the title.
Jamie will be the star of that one.
Oh man! All right, so let's talk about the main scenes that you're gonna have. Oh, well, yeah, quickly.
Yeah,
main
but
scenes.
Okay, so my main scene, which is suspenseful, me jumping out of a plane.
That's a pilot. Kortensia jumping out of a plane. What would be better is if someone actually kicked you out of the plane. See where I'm going with this?
Oh my God! To keep it in
the Kangaroo Girl. Yeah, we're tying everything. Kangaroo kick. You get kicked out of a plane. You land somewhere in the outback. I'm giving you the plots, you know. True Capital, call us, okay? We're going to discuss this.
Call us.
Pretty soon. We're going to get back to this discussion.
This.
What's up?
Before we go, we have some fan art, which was submitted by Jamie's biggest fan. Let's take a look.
There's fan art? You got fan art by Jamie's biggest fan? Whoa! I love it. You got to tell me who the fan is. I love it. Whoa.
Oh my gosh, his biggest cheerleader, his biggest fan.
That's great.
Aww.
Oh, we're gonna have to feature that. That's such a good drawing. Good representation. Got the brown eyes. Thank you so much.
I love the thumbs up.
All right, and thank you for joining us today for another edition of Good Morning SKN. We want to invite you to follow us on our social media platforms. So we're on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok. Yeah, we're on Facebook and YouTube too. Yeah. I don't know where they went, but we're there as well, right? So the handle is at Studio327INC. That's at Studio327 Inc.
Like, subscribe, and follow us. And remember to leave us a comment and tell us what topics and guests you'd like to see next.
Hang on a second. I'm just saying, right? When Kortensia says follow us, she wasn't meaning physically, right? We're not into stalker vibes.
No.
You meant the pictures. You did follow us. I'm like, yeah, maybe from a safe distance.
I do that almost every day.
Just kidding, guys. Just kidding. If you want to follow us, you're more than welcome to. You know where we are. All right. So, yes, the guests.
Yeah.
Guys you'd like to see. Let us know. Send it in. info@studio327inc.com. You can email us there as well.
Yeah.
All right. And with that said, we're going to say bye-bye for now. But you can see us tomorrow morning at 8. We'll be right here. Hopefully you will too. Bye-bye, guys.